And salutations, I am Ren, and you are watching Tales of Make-Believe, a Twitch interview show for role players to share their stories, adventures, and close the gaps between all of our loosely entwined communities, and also to show folks new to the hobby or curious that TTRPGs and LARPing can be for everyone. I am here tonight with several amazing guests to talk about content creation for TTRPGs. But first off, before we jump into me fawning over these four folks, I have a couple of people to thank. I want to thank my patrons. They have all enabled me to get this awesome channel art, which you can see is all now updated from Season 1. And all of the emojis. Or wait, they're called emotes for Twitch, aren't they? I've been saying this wrong for 20 episodes. And all of the emotes, hi, I am old, and sub badges, and all the streaming tech that I need to run this channel. And to pay people who are smarter and more experienced than me to come on and talk about fun things. Special appreciation to Heather, Fennec, Corey, and Christina, who have provided so much support to the channel, and also specifically to our channel benefactors, Dice Bags by Sammy, and Fennec from the Land Above podcast. And now I'll let them talk, because that's what we're all here for.
Woohoo!
So, I'll just sort of go in clockwise order. If you want to introduce yourself, maybe say where people can find you on the internet, and just like a little, I don't know, icebreaker chat. What kind of RPGs you usually play, how long you've been playing, and if you just have anything fun about yourself that you want to share. Diana, since you've been on the show before, I'm going to make you go first.
Cool. So I'm Diana. I'm Super Dylan pretty much everywhere. You can find pretty much everything that I do listed somewhere on superdylan.com, and that should be pretty easy to find. Primarily, I make funny jokes, and then occasionally I do something real. But mostly I'm here for the sillies. I did just publish a Neverland inspired setting guide that's 5e compatible, soon to be storyteller compatible. So that's the thing that I do. Yay!
Since we're going clockwise, not everyone knows what clockwise is. The next person on our little list is Jay.
Oh, hello. My name's Jay, or Nala. Her name's Chill with me. I use they, them pronouns. And you can find me on Twitter at NalaWu. That's NALAWU. And also, I'm literally every other social media you possibly could think of that I have. I'm Nala Draws. I don't know why my Twitter is NalaWu, but we out here. And yeah, I draw stuff, and I'm currently making a game, which I'll probably talk about further into this panel. What else do? I sing, I do voice acting, I do sensitivity reading, so you can hire me for that too. And I write, so you can also hire me for writing. Or drawing. Hopefully that drawing is the stuff that you're interested in. But yeah, I do a lot of things, and it's really nice to meet y'all, and thank you so much for having me on here with all of these lovely people. So.
Diana, I saw that. You're not supposed to pay. We pay you. No. Don't. None of you are allowed. No. That's okay. Why don't we slide over to Mackenzie?
Hi, I'm Mackenzie DeArmas, Mackenzie Lane DA on Twitter. I'm an Emmy Award-winning tabletop game designer and writer, so you can find me as the lead writer for The Islands of Sina Una, an upcoming 5e setting based around pre-colonial Filipino mythology, which is coming out, published by the Deck of Many. I'm also a contributor over at MCDM Productions and D&D Beyond, as well as an independent publisher over on the DMs Guild for supplements and adventures and so on. I've got a bunch of stuff in the work. I usually yell about it on Twitter. That's me. Yes, me.
So we have kind of one little icebreaker question to kick us off with. It has nothing to do with the topic at hand. So the way we will do the questions here, since there are 4 of us, is you can answer a question if you want to. You don't have to answer every question. Just kind of pop in when you feel like answering a specific question. So the first icebreaker question that has nothing to do with the topic at hand is, do any of the panelists have any pets? And if so, please tell us all about them, because everyone on the show loves pets.
I'll just real quickly say, unfortunately, I have no pets, and that kind of stinks. You might see me on Twitter asking for pictures of your pets. Because I want to live
that's
vicariously through you.
I have one pet. It's him. He sits there and he just watches me and judges, and that's about it. His name is Milo, and that's all he does. I don't actually have any alive floofers.
I have a flooper. I have a dog. Her name is Sam, short for Samantha, and she is a big red bone hound dog, which is like a southern. They're supposed to be like a fishing dog. She's never worked a day in her life, so she is a big red hound dog who was tragically, she's a rescue, and the woman who initially rescued her before I got to adopt her could not keep her in the house because of how sick she was, so she stayed out on the farm with the pigs. So my dog is a dog that has been raised by pigs, and she does a few very pig like things because of that, including snorting when she is happy. So my dog is a very special.
I love.
She also
Everything about this is
herself
perfect.
like a cat, which is something that pigs do. She's extremely meticulously clean.
Pigs clean. They lick themselves?
They like bathe. Yeah.
I'm
But-
picturing a pig like doing this thing.
No, not. Yes. So that's my dog.
That is perfect and wonderful and amazing, and there will never be a better story on this stream, I think.
I'm just so happy to know this. I've just been blessed.
It's really wonderful when when you turn her over and rub her belly and she just and you're just like,
Oh my
Oh
god!
no! Oh no!
Pigs
Oh,
The
you're so
cuteness.
precious.
The
Pigs-
cuteness overload.
yeah, it's really good. I'm extremely lucky. Extremely.
Pigs are amazing. In my other life years ago when I was a zookeeper for 6 years, I did take care of some pigs on how a lot of zoos have the farmyard section.
Yeah.
There were two. They were they were guinea hogs, so they were the kind of smaller black ones. And when it was food
God.
time, they knew. And I called them my squeaky ladies, as I would go, and I'd be like, "It's about time to eat," and they would roll onto their backs and squeak and want belly rubs and food.
Oh.
Pigs are very cute.
It's exclusively a pig panel now. We are only now.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to Make Believe. We've already done all of that, and these are our faces and our heads in a slightly different position, and it's not perfect, but whatever, chaos, okay. The topic at hand: writing your own TTRPG content.
Wow.
And the first question is, what are your favorite TTRP genres / settings that already exist?
I'm a big I'm one of those people, Tennant was my first doctor, so he's the doctor to me. And similarly, the old storyteller systems like Vampire the Masquerade and Changeling the Lost and all that stuff were my first role-playing games. So although I got into other ones later, those are still kind of my soft spot and my comfort zone where I feel the most at home in that kind of extended universe.
Cool.
Oh boy. This is kind of a loaded question for me because up until recently, all I played was D&D, except most of the D&D I played was all homebrew stuff. I don't think I ever played a game in one of the published settings. So yeah, that's a thing. And so I guess what drew me into playing these kinds of games was definitely fantasy. And my biggest drive was when I started DMing was I wanted to create a setting that I could see myself in and that other people who are of marginalized groups can see themselves in. So I worked on, and I'm still working on, creating a diverse fantasy setting, and that's where I set all my games in, at least. But as far as stuff that already exists, I was stoked about Masks. I was gonna play a game of Masks, but that unfortunately fell through. But I was really jazzed about that setting. I thought that was really cool. I've never played anything like that, and I loved like The Incredibles and like Sky High is a bad example because somebody pointed out that that movie has like a really bad theme and whatever. But anyways, like the idea of teenage superheroes seems really cool to me, and I
Totally.
want to play Masks
Mhm.
at some point soon.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But yeah.
playing my first Masks like campaign.
Ooh.
It's so much fun.
I'm
I was
so
like,
jealous. I want to play so badly.
It's so good. I love young adult heroes in any genre. Are they superheroes? Are they fantasy heroes? I don't know. I don't care. Just give me that. That's my favorite thing.
I love the cheesy like coming to age themes too, or coming of age
Yeah.
themes, like and the awkwardness, the teenage awkwardness, and the discovering yourself, the identity pieces. It's all so much fun to write
Yep.
and explore.
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's
so
why
much fun to play too. It's like so cathartic to play through that as part of the role playing experience.
yeah, I really
Anybody
like
who has a game
Tales-
of Masks and you want me on it.
Well, I know
love
that
it.
I know that my partner Paul is making a local masks game like off stream thing, but I don't know when we're actually going to be able to play that ever again
Valid.
locally.
Yeah. Well, we are in New England. We
That
talked
is
about
true.
before the stream.
Yeah, I like Tales from the Loop for that good coming of age nonsensory myself. I am speaking of New England, I am working on a Tales from the Loop setting in Maine because I was raised in Maine on a healthy diet of Stephen King, so
Nice.
Ugh.
it seems
Maine
like a
feels like a place where things like that would happen.
yeah.
It's like it's all the way over there. Like it's just like at the edge of Maine. That's a liminal space.
Maine's
where weird
got
stuff
like
happens.
trees and like maybe a moose or two. I don't know what
And
else
mist
is in Maine.
and lots of
Mist.
fog.
Yeah,
And that's all that's in Maine.
yeah, that's
Anyone
it.
who says otherwise is lying.
Oh no, there's bears. There's bears.
There's so much
There's
mist.
bears.
And loons.
Oh. Back to settings though. I just thought of another one. Just Star Trek. I'm in a I played Star Trek Adventures on a stream, and we're on hiatus right now, but we're coming back. I just got word that the contracts are finally being pushed through.
Oh,
Thank God.
God.
But yeah, we were playing Star Trek Adventures, and our cast is entirely queer people, so we're making Star Trek gay, and it's great.
As it was meant to be. Yes.
Truly, yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Bashir
I also
and
love
Garak
sci-fi
forever.
a lot. Sci-fi is really, really cool.
That's awesome.
I really like Star Trek Adventures. I actually just finally sprung for the rule book, which is now sitting on my shelf because I don't have a Star Trek game I'm playing, but in my heart at some point. All right, so because we have a ton of questions from the Discord, which you can totally join by clicking !Discord or clicking on the link down below the whole video thing, where you're able to ask all of our guests questions early. But Allie has a question from the Discord. Where do you start creating your own TTRPG content? Do you like to start with the physical setting, character stat requirements? What? Where?
I will let
etc.?
someone with sense in their head answer this question. that is that is not me.
Do any of us know what we're doing?
No. Oh, good. So we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat.
Fantastic.
Maybe Em was the one that knew what was going on.
No,
that's
I made
why
that
the internet
up.
kicked Em off.
I made that up. Made the whole thing up. I have no idea what the.
So,
if
Allie-
there's formula, I don't know about it.
Allie's question was, how do you start?
Yeah, like what sort of element of it do you start with?
Okay, so I can speak to the fantasy setting that I was working on. Like, my main inspiration was, okay, I want to start playing Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't know anything about traditional fantasy tropes or themes or lore. Most of it, which I've now later found out is incredibly racist. But I was like, I didn't know about any of that, and so I feel like, and everything's very white, it's very Eurocentric. There's like, you know, Lord of the Rings, there's Game of Thrones. Like those are like the two big things that I was sort of like paraded around as like fantasy, right? And I never was into that in high school or before that because I was just not interested. I at that point I was looking for queer media. I was looking for media that featured people who looked like me, who featured like other black and brown characters, and those pieces of media just didn't have anything for me. So when I wanted to play D&D and also run D&D, I was like, I want to create something where people like me and where I can feel included and feel represented and can feel seen. And so that was my main driving inspiration was this doesn't have anything for me. I'm going to create that space for myself instead and build something around that and build a world where people like me can exist and are accepted and are just normal in the thing. Like there's no like weird like, oh, trans people in fantasy are, you know, ugh. It's fantasy, like come on. So that at least for me is where I started for at least that.
That is a wonderful answer. I was, as you were saying that, spamming the chat with hearts because of that answer. So okay.
Aw.
For me, in just my experience with it, and this is probably just because of what the source material I decided to base my setting off of, where I started was hyperfixating over it and just spending hours before I ever put anything on paper was just me sitting and thinking and daydreaming and just fantasizing about what it would look like, fantasizing about how it would be, and playing out scenarios in my head for a way longer time than I spent actually writing it down. Probably. That's sort of how I've done other creative projects in the past. I don't know if that would be something that works for other people, but that's definitely what happened with Neverland.
I think for me, it's a lot of it is me going, dang it, I want this, but no one else has made it, and I'm too impatient to wait for someone else with probably more experience to make it, so screw it, I'm gonna do it myself. And that's how most of my projects started, and that's how a lot of the things I published, like, independently started. A lot of the things I did when I started out doing a lot of stuff on DM's Guild, mostly because I had a couple friends who worked with DM's Guild and stuff, so they kind of were recommending I start there, and I was like, okay, cool, I don't know any better. And a lot of times, though, a lot of like the sillier ideas that I come up with kind of start out with me going on Twitter and like at like 10 p.m. or like 6 a.m. and just putting out an idea and then going to sleep and then waking up with like 300 likes and going, oh no, people like this, I have to make it now.
That was me in the game that I'm making right now.
That's pretty much, yep,
Yeah.
it's a big, like, I'm just like, I don't think anyone will like this, I'll just put it on Twitter because it's a garbage thought, and then like 3 hours later I'm like, oh wait, no, people actually want this? Okay, guess I'm gonna make it now, shoot.
Look, you said the word bird. I was clearly going to be there for it.
I love birds. Birds are good.
Yep. That's how most of my games and products started. I think it's been very different for like working on Sina Una, which I'm not like the only one working on it, and I'm not even part of the production or publishing team. I'm just sort of leading the team of writers and doing a lot of design work. And that one started out again with that idea of wanting to see Filipino culture represented in a fantasy setting and a game, because we have so much that no one ever talks about, and gosh darn, our monsters are terrifying and cool, and I want to see more of them. But
good stuff.
How that actually starts is like we have to do so much research, and there's so much physical legwork of like getting books and looking up things and figuring out, cross-referencing different texts, and that's slightly more of a, in terms of how you start, that has a more of a concrete answer of, if you're dealing with something like that, you have to do your research and look it up and make sure you know your sources and you know how to treat things respectfully. But when it comes to independent, silly or not sillier, but more lighthearted things, they usually start out as tweets where I'm like, "This idea is silly," and then people are like, "No, it's cool," and then you're like, "Oh, it's cool, I guess. We're doing it now."
I said, be gay, do crimes, the game, and it kind of exploded. And now I'm making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, not a game designer. I'm just an artist.
Have you designed a game? You're a game designer.
Can I tell you something right now? I hate it. It's my least favorite word in the entire dictionary, and it is just. Not when used to be like justice, but when you're just like diminishing something, just an artist. Like, I can't make art. That's something that's incredible and unique, and that you.
Okay, but by Diana, you can make art. You just don't.
Right.
I am here for that. I'm just gonna mute myself and listen to the three of you ping pong semantics and lift each other
I was
up.
like,
And
Diana, you
Stop
are an
it.
artist. You're just not a visual artist. You've written something that makes you an artist. You've created something that makes
You're an artist of words.
A word artist. I will take that. I feel
A
somehow
wordist.
more comfortable with that title than writer. Why? I don't know. But word artist is really getting me.
I like
Anyway, you're not just anything. You're an artist.
Thank
and
you.
You're cool.
Thank
and also,
you for
you
the
are a
positivity.
game designer because you have designed a game.
that. And a word
Yeah,
I'm
artist.
designing. Although, actually, if I have time to talk about this real quickly, I technically have designed a game because I talk in my sleep, and according to my friends who I was hanging out with and then I fell asleep in front of, I designed a game in my sleep. It was a D8 system, and it was called Die. And the stats were like brains, boobs, I don't know, it was a bunch of B words, balance, I think, and then there was energy. And then apparently also in my sleep, I told my friends, if anyone asks why the last one isn't a B, you say, quote, fuck if I know, end quote. Anyways, I technically did do a game in my sleep.
Okay, we're gonna play this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Need you to iron out any more details. I think we can go straight to it.
I have it written down on a note. Actually, my friend wrote it down as I was saying it in my sleep, because by that point I was already notorious for saying weird crap in my sleep. And once I started talking game design, they were all like typing.
Bless that friend. Bless that
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
We're gonna do
Bless
something
them.
there.
I'm excited.
I feel like that's it. That, like, how do we top that show? That was our show, folks. All right.
Thanks for coming.
Fuck if I know.
Yeah.
All right, but I will probably disappoint people if I don't ask some of their questions. So, Raina would like to know, what is your dream game setting? If you've already
Oh.
made your dream game setting, you probably can sit it
I'm
out.
tapped out. I did it. And that's the only thing I care about is Neverland. Please.
You're so valid.
Yeah.
God, that's so yeah. I think, what is it? So Sina Una it's not necessarily, it's like a dream setting I didn't know I had, but now that I'm working on it, I'm like, oh god, this is my dream setting. Just because of how much it means to me, like personally exploring that culture, which I never really got a chance to, being part of the Filipino diaspora and never like getting to connect with that. God, it's such a cathartic experience. It's just sometimes I just sit and cry a little because it's like,
That's valid.
this is so much stuff that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know about all this stuff that we had and all these stories, and now I get a chance to share them, and that's super awesome. I think, like, the other setting I'm working on, like, privately is a modern magic setting. I'm really big into modern magic,
Ooh.
because I love the idea of... I hate the idea that magic and technology are always opposed against each other, and I love basically forcing them together into settings and see how they work. So I started working on a modern magic setting based in Southern California, where I live. Like, this sort of suburban fantasy is what I ended up calling it.
Ooh,
Where it's like
cool.
retro, like neon, brick buildings, cars,
Ooh.
and like a lot of like stuff like from American Gods and the Rick Riordan series, where you get to play and walk in a modern world that's filled with these powerful like arcane beings that are also just don't know what they're doing. And so I've been working on that on the side. I'll get back to it eventually, but that's my other dream setting that I really want to get out into the world.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
I hope it's cool.
That
I
sounds
Sounds cool.
Uncharted
You've
to
sold
me.
me.
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
sold.
Throw
You
the
said
word.
Rick Riordan, and then said more things that I was into, and then I was like, yeah, I'm sold.
like I just
Yeah.
like there isn't really any systems where it's like I want to play a demigod like in Rick Riordan or like
That's
but
true.
like
That's true.
there are settings that have that built in, but it's not made for like young adult or teens, where it's a lot of times it's a lot more serious or a lot more like, oh, you're descended from like an eldritch horror sort of deal.
Yeah.
And I wanted something where it's like I want to play a
Pure.
young spunky hero who has to deal with like divine forces that also have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
I like that.
That sounds
That sounds
Cool.
great. Yeah.
Also, you said the word neon, so I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a child of the
Ren's
90s.
code word.
Yeah. To speak to the diaspora thing, like I was adopted from China, and so I feel a lot of those things that you just said. My dream setting would probably, again, because of like my personal connection to it, be this like fantasy thing I'm working on, because it's been sort of a passion project for like 5 years now. I started it like back in high school, and just been building it, and I need to write it down because right now it's all up here. I've written not very much of it down. But one of the things I'm proudest of, and I think it's one of the more unique things about my setting, is the religion and the society based around this religion that I've created. Part of my attachment to this is just my own personal experiences with religion growing up. I was raised Catholic. I'm no longer Catholic. But that sort of culture, I don't want to say fight that I had with my mom, but like tension around religion. And I wanted to create a setting and a story where religion was incredibly important to people, but for different reasons, and to allow me to explore that, and to create a setting where religion is very, very intrinsic to the culture, but it's much more diverse, it's much more accepting. It's the main pantheon is 8 women, and then the lesser pantheon is like tons of like people of all genders, and lots of like different things that all represent like deities that do different things. Some of them are regional, some of them, like some town might have their own deity that's like just for their town, and the whole society is sort of based around the people who believe in these deities are the ones who give them the power. And so if people stop doing the rituals for the goddesses, they die. And so it's this like very, very, very and it ties into politics too, because all of the politics in this setting are also tied to the religion, and it's all blah, blah, blah. But I would love to play in a game in my setting, but that's never gonna happen
God, isn't
until
that
I actually write
the
it down.
thing though?
That's
It's like you
the
make
dream.
settings and you're like, I want to play in it, but I'm the one who I just need to find someone who like cares. Here's my setting. Run a game for me in it, please.
Yeah, please. I'm like, can
Which
I
is a
download my brain
terrifying
into someone
thing.
else?
I recognize it's terrifying to ask someone that, but I still want to.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get that.
I'm just kind of like, this is so dear to me that I would be very worried about giving it to someone else, because I would just like, I don't know. I'm worried that I would like try and backseat DM, or I would try and like do whatever.
Yeah,
And I
that's
feel
the
like
thing.
I would need to have enough content that I can then give it and then see what people create after that. But to get to that point, I'm always just like, what is like, when's enough? Like I have 3 really developed countries with semi-developed histories and like this cool politics that intertwines all 3 of them. And then I have the religion, which is probably the most developed thing I got. But then everything to the east is just like, I have a joke parody of America, which I'm probably going to take out, but I put that in there because of a one-liner joke in one of the campaigns I was running. And I was like, all right, that's the joke now. But like, you know, I want to develop more stuff, and then that's only one continent for this world, and I want to create many different other cultures and other stuff, and it's all going to be diverse and not Eurocentric and very queer friendly. So that's the goal. Someday.
That's great. I want to play in.
I would love to run it. I'm looking for a game system actually that I can run, because I don't really want to play D&D anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I find a game setting, I want to GM for the first time on stream, because I've GM'd lots of times, like for people at school, my friends, but I've never done it on stream before, and I really want to because I miss it. But I need a new system.
Yeah.
The GMing it, just like I haven't done it in like a month. Dang it! I need to do it again. I need to do it again. I haven't had that fantasy rush. Dang it!
I know. Yeah, it is very real.
I love telling stories, and I love, you know, like my players give me their characters, and I intertwine them in the world, and then have some like secrets and some fun stuff and some surprises and all that stuff. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you for the question. It was a really good question.
Yeah, that was a good question, Rana. It's a similar question, which I think we'll kind of touch on some of the. Not a similar question at all. I don't know what I'm. Let me start over. I'm bad at these segues.
Take two.
Yes. A question that I think will touch on some similar topics is from Brandon. What experiences do you want players to take away from your games, and how do you try to accomplish that?
I have a quick answer for my Queer Mafia game, which I teased earlier.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, I'm making a Queer Mafia game called Bloodstained Orchids in June. It is going to be designed specifically for play-by-post on Discord, and it's basically a near future setting, so like 2040, 2050-ish. But my goal for players is the game was made for marginalized people who don't really get to see themselves in the media, and I want this game to be for these people and to allow these people to feel catharsis, being allowed to punch up at their oppressors in game and to be gay and do crimes and take down corrupt white politicians and other white people who, you know, misuse their money and shit, and you know, you get to, you know, do crimes on them and feel that good catharsis, and also playing a game where there's a lot of focus on inner character relationships, and you can have all that good drama, and I want it to feel like those like cheesy soap opera TV shows like Grey's Anatomy, where like it's all just drama and like you get to explore all these nitty-gritty relationships with each other, and let queer people just be queer people and to have our own space, especially, and then the people of color as well, and the intersections between all those identities. I want the game to be a safe haven for these people. So that's all.
Yeah,
I love
catharsis.
That. Great answer.
I'm into this.
I want, especially with Neverland, but pretty much, I think that this stamps on anything I create in the future, too, is that I want people to take it and say, cool, and then throw it away. But like I don't actually want them to throw it away, but I want them to do whatever they want with it. So like I want, you know, like my introduction to gaming was by people who followed things very rigidly to the book, and you know, I'm an imaginator. I want to make stuff up as I go. I want to improv things, and I want the cool thing to happen at the perfect moment. And I felt really restricted by, rules heavy systems. So I'm hoping that anybody who sees something I make can go ahead and take it as a jumping off point, and then do whatever they want ultimately. And that's my.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I do like that, because I think like and kind of it's like what I like to do with mine, where it's you don't want people to feel restricted by the things you create, and that's like when I make new projects, or either when I'm designing games or designing other supplements. A lot of what I like to do is, well, I want to create something that doesn't usually fit in what people normally perceive as like the typified fantasy. So like I made a whole book of magical candy because I was like, you know what? We don't have enough cute, fun, fluffy stuff in fantasy. I'm gonna go make a bunch of sweets and have fun with it.
That's
Or
fantastic.
like and stuff like that. Like something I'm working on right now is like making different elementals that aren't just like the fire, air, water, earth, where it's like, no, these are like scientific elementals, and seeing how to mess around with that.
Neodymium.
like making like elements based on the periodic table, because
That's
people
cool.
haven't done that.
That's really cool.
It's so brilliant.
Don't, yeah, like I don't know if I can say when or where that's coming out yet, or give any more details other than that, but it is coming out at some point. It's gonna be real cool. And it's like when I made like my one-page TTRPG about noir pigeon detectives, I wanted to make that game where it was like, I want to make a setting so ridiculous that you don't feel restricted.
Sorry, about what?
Noir pigeon detectives.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 2d6 one-page game, literally about noir pigeon detectives. One of the stats is poop. It's one of my prides and joys, and it was literally intentionally made to like put players in a position where the premise is so ridiculous they don't feel confined by reality. Where it's like, you're a noir pigeon detective trying to solve a mystery. Like, you don't have to worry about like, can I logically do this? Does this work? And just sort of breaking those boundaries. And I think a similar thing, but on a more serious note, applies for like Sina Una, where it's like, I want to break those boundaries and let people experience something and like live in part of like my culture or my ancestry, and share those stories, but in a way that isn't just telling them these things. I want them to be able to live it and break those boundaries and experience those new things. But yeah, the noir pigeon detective game is Burb Brains with a B. It's on my itch.io page. It's free. Go have fun with it.
I want to play that now.
I was one of the people that feverishly liked the Twitter post where that was born. So I was just, following the progress of that with rapt attention. It's very on brand. It's like, oh, birds?
Bird.
Noir?
Yes.
Detectives? Hello.
Yeah, it was literally designed for a class, because like I was in a writing for video games class, and my professor was like, in order for you to understand how games work, we're going to do some tabletop games and show like how you can tell stories through that. And I was like, well, I have experience with tabletop games, but I don't want to throw people at like a game with so much more complexity, because like most people in my group like hadn't played games before. So I specifically designed Bird Brains to be like really simple and really ridiculous. So I was like, have fun role-playing ridiculous pigeons, because I just want you to be in an environment where you can have fun and like not worry about like, am I doing this right? Because that's not the point of this exercise. The point of the exercise is to figure out how to play games.
Beautiful.
Bless up.
I'm really into all of your game ideas. It's, like I said before we got on, I pulled all of you because I just really want to know more about your stuff. And so Nick would like to know, what is a cultural detail that you may have put into one of your games that you are really proud of?
I feel like it's unfair to answer that question for Sina Una, because it's literally just cultural details.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm trying to think
of a specific thing from Arumbai that's like...
You could also slide it into another Reina question, which is just, what is one of your favorite small details about one of your games?
Yeah, so kind of a mishmash of both of those questions for Neverland. Something that I was really proud of and really excited to do is that, like, J.M. Barrie, like, of all his meandering in the book, in the novel, which he does a lot of, he doesn't ever really tell you what Peter Pan is specifically. Like, it doesn't like define Peter Pan or define Neverland, but he does throw in like one offhanded sentence in the beginning of the book that he never revisits, never approaches later, and never confirms nor denies, but it just suggests that some people think that Neverland is sort of like a place that you're supposed to go on the journey to the afterlife. It's like a Davy Jones situation. Peter Pan is supposed to ferry you so that the journey is not too scary and you take a little rest on Neverland and then you continue on. So he never really details that, confirms that. He just sort of peppers in this one little offhanded sentence. And I was like, that's all I care about for 10 years. I care so much about that one sentence. I am going to make sure that is extrapolated and is a very like elaborate part of this. So I think that's my answer, is taking that and getting to like make it real.
I think just something that I'm proud of, I think, for my religion is maybe I came up with a creation myth that I thought was pretty cool and people have told me was pretty cool. And so I think that was in creating this creation myth of like the world creation and like how it all came to be, which I feel like is a very it's a staple, I think, for a lot of these. Like if you're going to create a fantasy religion, you want to know, how do these people think the world came to be? Because a lot of like most religions in like real life religions have a like world creation myth, and so I wanted to create one for my religion. But in this myth, it made canon, I guess, within my setting that the sun goddess, who's like the earth, the sun mother, I call her sun mama, but she canonically is a trans woman because of this myth that I created, which I thought was pretty cool. In creating that, because people, like from day one, I wanted this to be a setting that trans people felt included in, but I didn't like. I knew I wanted there to be like, like representation, and I was like trying to figure out how to do it, and then I was like, if the main goddess and the main deity from this religion is trans, like that just like, well, everything else will fall into place. But yeah, so I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I think my favorite small detail I've included in something I've written, like to be honest, like anytime I get to write something for like a big entity like D&D Beyond or something, I will slip in so many references to my friends and just be like, hey, I named a character after you, because
That's
I love
awesome.
my friends, and I'm just like, look, I want to include them in the things I create. And it's like, so I'll slide those in because my friends mean so much to me. But one of my favorite details that like, and it was one of the first times where I actually let myself like be Filipino in the things I created. Like for a while, like because I was working so closely with D&D, I was so stuck in like, it's traditional fantasy, so I got to stick to that. But the first time I let myself kind of be more Filipino and be me in something was when I wrote the candy compendium. And one of the candies in I think in the like the last section is called Pandandemonium, based off Buko Pandan, which is one of my favorite Filipino desserts. And I got to include that and also make it magical and just treat it as like a normal candy in this world that just exists alongside regular sugar lollipops and other things. And that made me super happy getting to put that in there and getting to treat it as if it's like just as ordinary as, taffy. And that one was super cool. And that helped me.
Love that.
It helped me get more comfortable with like exploring that part of like my identity, and
That's awesome.
and that was before Sina Una was a thing, so it was my baby step, and I will always love that one candy.
That's
Yay.
awesome.
That's
That's
so
so
pure.
awesome.
That's
That's
awesome.
really
I like
cool.
that.
And now
On
I
a
want
lighter note,
candy.
whenever I write for anything, like if you put me on your podcast, if you put me on your project, I will make it gay. So that's a detail that I love
Yep.
putting in.
Yeah,
I make
yeah, yeah,
everything
Oh
gay.
God, yeah.
If I
Yeah.
touch it, it's gonna be gayer. So
Like
hire me.
yeah, like
I promise I'll make it gayer.
anything I've done on D&D Beyond, like if you look at any of the articles, they're all very gay. All of them are very gay.
Shh, don't let D&D Beyond hear you. They can't know.
Watsy's on to you.
If you're on my stream, you're probably gay.
I know. Yeah, if you're here watching.
If you're
You are gay.
I just gather all of my favorite queer people.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I'm queer for it.
What? Yes! Yes! Yes!
All right.
I also bring puns. I should have said that before.
I love that about you. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Can we just? I want to end like like button close with the black like the button close on that line. Like, we're done. We're done.
I wish I could, but I have a couple more questions that I do really want to ask.
Yes,
No,
ask us more
no,
questions.
No, I was kidding. Yeah.
Hit us.
I'll see if I can get someone to clip it, and then I'll like put it into the
Well,
edited
yeah.
video. So this question may I bring chaos. Who knows? Brandon
With
would like.
us? Of course it will.
Brandon would like to know, how do you test your content? Do you have any stories about how something changed dramatically or chaotically during testing in a way that you didn't expect?
Haha.
When it comes to independent things, I don't test it as probably as much as I should when it's like things I write for DM's Guild. That's just me. Or like with Bird Brains, I think I ran like one session on it, called it a day, and then just slapped that baby on Itch.io. But when like for Sina Una, we are doing intensive playtesting. Just like twice a week or so, we're running like 3-hour sessions, like giving people like classes.
Damn.
And just basically like running games at different levels. We've run like 5th level games, we run 12th level games, we'll be running 20th level games, and we're just at subclasses, and we gotta test like base classes soon too. It's a grueling process, and it's also really freaking terrifying to sit in a group of people who are all playing things you designed and go, tell me what's wrong. Tell me how this is broken. That's how that goes. There's a lot of fear and a lot of having to go, if this sucks, it doesn't mean I suck. It just means I gotta rework it, and just constantly reminding myself of like having to separate my own value as like a person from like the things I work with. And that's the biggest thing for me when it comes to testing the things you design, is having to forcibly make that separation, because once you do that, testing becomes a lot easier. It's just super hard when you place your baby in front of someone and you're like, I hope you like it. You have to place that baby and be like, I have no emotional attachment to this baby. Tell me what's wrong with it.
One of my professors at school, I had him twice for 2 different classes, but one of the things that he taught me that still sticks with me is just the phrase like, kill your darlings.
Yep.
And he made me be okay with that, and he just said, sometimes the project that you care the most about isn't necessarily the one that you turn in for this class, because if you care too much, then you will be a perfectionist about it, because I'm a perfectionist, and he knew that, and we were trying to unlearn that. And he was like, to avoid your perfectionism, maybe don't always pick something that you are emotionally attached to. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just gotta do the thing that does that will fulfill the project requirements, and then be done with it. And I am that was definitely very helpful for me. And
Yeah.
also just going to art school and having your stuff critiqued like once a week definitely helps you with that separation thing, because any critique is a critique of your work, not of you. And so
Yeah.
I quickly learned not to take it personally, and it's a skill that I think more people should learn, is being able to stand up in front of a group of your peers and show them something you worked for hours on and have them tell you everything that's wrong with it, and then you go home, you fix it, and you get better.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and it's still okay
Sure.
to like feel awful about
oh
it.
yeah,
Just like
yeah,
cry for an hour.
sure.
Get that all out, and then go, okay, let's fix it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I will say I have definitely heard about those lessons. I am aware of them. I don't think I'm a person that has totally gotten there, but
You're valid.
I know that that's a virtuous thing. I know that that's a good goal. I'm inching.
It takes a lot of time
Yeah.
to learn.
I think I've been drawing for like 10 years now.
What's interesting is that, before gaming and content creation has always been hobby of mine, personal, off to the sidelines hobby. My background professionally has always been research oriented, which, as someone critiques my research, I don't know, there's no emotional attachment to whether or not I got my sociological sources wrong. I'll go home and I'll fix it. Like, I don't tear it apart. Great.
Right.
That just never had an effect on me. I could always take criticism in that way. I'm new to putting my hobby stuff out in front of people to critique. So I'm learning that in a very weird, uncomfortable, but very interesting kind of crash course. Especially because I led with, this is my favorite thing since childhood.
Right.
So I could have started with something a little less personal to put out there, but so far it hasn't been that bad. But I do definitely have heart muscle aches over it.
Yeah, I'm definitely nervous for when my game goes to playtesting, because obviously I haven't been working on it for as long as you have with Neverland, but I care so deeply about the characters and the setting that I've created, and that's about as far as like my stuff goes. Like, I've been throwing ideas out to my game dev team for like what I want the game to be and how I want it to feel. Like, I was just like, I want it to be like a rules light thing. I want it to be very narrative driven. I want it to be diceless because I want the narrative control to be completely within the hands of the players and not be left up to chance. And I just like threw out all these things, and we're working on the design elements right now. But once it goes into production, like, I think I'm definitely nervous about putting my writing out there. And that's also why I've been hesitant to share my fantasy setting as well, because like my art, like, you can tell me you hate it, you can critique my art. That's something that I've had, and like I've been in art classes for years now, and like that's I can take that. But my writing has always been kept very close to me. I never used to share my writing with anybody. I used to write fan fiction. That's where this whole thing started.
Same.
But and I posted my fan fiction online. Please don't go looking for it. It's bad and cringy.
Same. Yeah, don't.
But that I sort of had a sort of anonymous kind of thing to it. Like, I didn't write under my name. I had a fake name, and I had a sense of anonymity. But now that I have like myself attached to it, I am nervous to share it. But I've been told by a lot of people that what I write is good, so I'm just like, okay, gotta get over this imposter syndrome and just put it out there.
Good.
Okay, so first off, you're a word artist.
Word artist.
Second off,
Word artist.
I have never written fan fiction, unless you count fan fiction that you write for like one of your own like TTRPG characters or whatever.
That's
after the
just
fact,
fiction.
and you need some like
That's
catharsis.
just fiction, Ren. That is
That's
just
just
a story about a character you created.
That you write,
You can't fan fiction your own character. That's just straight fiction.
Look, all of my LARP friends call it fan fiction when they write about their LARP characters, so that's just the wording that I've used. Okay, leave me alone. I'm the host here.
Ren, you're a writer. You write stories.
Everybody is a writer / word artist.
Moral of the story was that we here at Make Believe do not shame fan fiction writers or people who ingest fan fiction. I think fan
Fanfiction's
fiction
so
is
fucking valid.
great.
That's
The
how I got
publishing
started. Like,
Yeah.
The publishing industry is such a fucking disaster that, you know, people taking it to fan fiction, completely fucking valid. Circumvent the whole system. Who the fuck cares?
Self-publish.
completely.
I don't know how that works, but
Absolutely.
self-publish.
I
It's
did-
terrifying, but you know what? We
Yeah,
do
just
it.
do it. I recently changed my anonymous name on Archive of Our Own to my main handle as part of a fundraising goal. I was like, if we make it to this fundraising goal, I will embarrass myself. I will make this. I will put my name on the bad fan fiction.
that's
Dragon
terrifying.
Age I wrote.
All right, stream's over. I've got plans now.
Hold
Go
on,
home.
let me just Google Super Dylan on
Archive of Our Own.
It's not good, but you know what? We raised money, and that I am true to my
You
word.
are a brave soul.
You can't be any worse than the Harry Potter fanfiction Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles.
No, it is. I can definitively say it's not
That bad?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And if anyone has not looked up Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles, it is a Harry Potter
Ren's
fanfiction written by a very conservative Christian woman, and she basically took out all of the magic in Harry Potter and wrote a story about a boy finding Jesus at the Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles.
Okay.
Real funny.
I've never read any Harry Potter fanfiction, actually. I've mostly just been doing deep dives into Good Omens and Gundam.
Good Omens fan fiction is a nice place.
I have
It's
actually
a
never
good
seen
place.
that show. That's on
I
my
got through 3
to-watch
episodes
list.
and then my attention got diverted elsewhere, not because the show was bad, but because I'm easily distracted.
I just like reading about soft ace boys.
Valid.
It's just so nice. There's just such nice Good Omens, just loving
There is.
fan
There's
fiction
so
out there. It
much.
just makes
They're
my
so
heart
soft.
happy.
Do you want them to be like ace life partners? Do you want them to be gay married boys? Do you want them? It's like whatever you wanted while watching the show, it's there. It's there for you in abundance. It's so nice.
Anyway, this has been our fanfiction corner, apparently. Let's go back to some stuff about world building and stuff, I guess.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
yeah, we're supposed to
Who
answer
knows?
questions. That's why we're
Let's
here.
answer more
Can
questions.
I ask a question?
Yeah, you know.
Sure.
Is that
yeah.
allowed?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
This is very
So,
informal.
My question to you two is, did you find that it was difficult to figure out how to actually publish a game? Like the first time you did it, did you find that it was like kind of clear what the legality and the rules and where you could publish something was easily accessible, or did you find like that there was a lot of convolution to figuring out what that is? I have no bias in asking that question, but I am just curious what other people's experiences are in that.
I'm gonna let Mackenzie take this one because I have never published.
It's a mess. It is definitely a mess. It's not like, I think the thing was, is like, it wasn't necessarily easy for me. It was just more like, I was very lucky to have a lot of people who had done a lot of work before, so I could ask them questions and they could help me. And I got really lucky when I was brought on to bigger projects that had to deal with more legality issues, like the difference between like SRD and like the SRD and the OGL and other things. Being able to, like, having people who had experience who were able to teach me that as I went along was really helpful. But if I had been left on my own, by God, I would never have been able to figure it out. I could barely figure out how to get my game up on Itch.io. Like, that one I had to do on my own. I had no clue how that was, like, and Itch is one of the easiest sites, and I was still like, what do all these buttons do? And especially when it comes to dealing with, like, with the open game license specifically, it's freaking hell. And the only reason why I've gotten good at it is because I've had to do so many projects with it. I know that like the back of my hand now, but it's been drilled into me by so many projects and so many editors going, we can't use this. It's not OGL. And going,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, I'm sorry. Because like the OGL is a massive document. No one has time to read that. I don't know what's in that.
Yeah. It was a very wild experience, and me, I'm just someone that really wants to tear down the curtain because I want people to create more stuff, especially for the existing systems that everybody knows and is familiar with. I want more stuff from different perspectives all the time, forever. But I did find that it was a weird, like, it was almost like another closed door, you know, like where there was all this stuff behind this curtain that I didn't really understand.
Yep.
I had written this thing, I had it, I was like, I know that I'm happy with it and I want to do something with it. Can I? And so Neverland got taken down 3 times.
Really?
For 3
what?
times.
I'm assuming copyright.
Once was because I didn't have the correct OGL like things in the right places, and twice because on drive-through, the publisher accounts versus the community accounts, there's like no instruction over like which one is which and what makes sense for what. And I had gone to ask some people generally for help, which is a thing that I regret doing. Like, I love asking friends who've published for help. I got a lot of help from a couple of friends who had already published after all this happened. But at first, I went to the general internet and was like, what do publish? How do rules? What is okay to publish on Drive-Thru RPG if it's D&D-esque? And especially when making a setting, basically with Drive-Thru, with DM's Guild, basically anything that's D&D related except a setting.
Yeah,
you can't.
On
You can publish
DM's Guild,
basically.
it has to be either explicitly setting neutral or tied to an existing WotC setting.
Yes.
You cannot make your own settings on DM's Guild.
Right.
Which
So
is
that was one of the
Which is
times.
ridiculous because DM's Guild is the bigger platform, so when you publish it on Drive-Thru RPG, no one looks there.
I know. So I did publish it on DM's Guild, and it was, which is really frustrating, is it was purchased like 300 times that day, and that's all gone. Like my
your little medal?
numbers.
It's all
That's
gone.
all gone.
No.
So, but what was interesting is that when I asked this question, and gave me like flashbacks to like when I wanted to learn how to play D&D in high school, because I was like, what do I do? Like, where is it appropriate? What are the rules? Somebody tell me what the rules for putting this on here are. And they were like, and somebody immediately said to me, like, they just responded like, I think it's pretty clearly stated. And I was like,
no, it's not. No, it's not. The only reason why it's clear is because if you do it long enough, it gets ingrained into your brain.
and I was like,
no, screw you. They're
never
wrong.
mind. So what I wound up doing was I just kept trying, and then thankfully Lissa was very helpful. And
Lissa
then
is a gem.
yeah, Lissa was very helpful, and then Jaren and a couple of other people who've already published like jumped in and were like, no. And so I got some help after making all of those like really newbie mistakes that gave me a lot of panic energy, because I was like, you know, I published it and it got taken down. Is it gone forever? Did this thing that I like just, you know, like, did I just throw it away?
And they take it down off the server, they delete it off your hard drive too.
Right. Like, I don't know, just
but there's like
DM's
Guild has the weirdest rights things about stuff like that.
Yeah. So, you know, and somebody was just like, well, better luck on your next work or something like that. And I was like, what?
This is my life's work.
No.
But this is my life's work.
Yeah. Like,
oh no.
So I just want everybody to know that if you're thinking about publishing something and you feel like it's too complicated, it is, but don't let that stop you, because there are people who will share that knowledge with you. There, and it's not a zero-sum game that if you fail at the first time like that, it's all over, which is what I felt in that moment, and it almost discouraged me, and I just don't want it to discourage anyone else.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Like, look, corporations may make their licenses super obscure and weird, but you know what? There are at least good individuals with a good heart in the community who are willing to walk you through that license and help you.
Yes.
It's also like honestly, like I remember my first project working with like the OGL and having an editor go like, yeah, we cannot mention this word at all. And I was like, what do you mean we can't mention that word? And they're just like, it runs the risk of copyright. We just can't mention that. And I was like, okay, that was like what the entire premise of my adventure was based on, but I will change that word.
Yeah. Do it like a palindrome. They just flip it.
It was the word artificer. They were like, yeah, we can't have that just in case. We can't risk it. And I was like, you're right, because copyright is garbo. But also I was like, my entire adventure was based around like going into an artificer's lab. So now I gotta go find another word for artificer. Cool. Okay.
Magic IT man.
Yes. Yeah. But no, it's very complicated, and it's like intentionally made to be like super freaking convoluted, and it's
haha, isn't that just corporations though? Haha.
Having no experience with this, it sure sounds like some more fucking old guard gatekeepy bullshit to me.
Yeah. Same.
That's the thing, and the thing is no one tells you about it when you start out writing. No one tells you about it.
This is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, there will be people who will be like, oh, you want us to try writing for TTRPGs? Go try it in DM's Guild. And they won't tell you anything else. They'll just tell you go pop stuff on DM's Guild, and you're like, cool, I could just put stuff here. And it's like,
you upload it and it submits?
What was wild to me was that there was no before you submit this. Like, there's no
there are no terms and conditions.
Yeah,
there are really terms and conditions.
There's no are you sure you haven't accidentally copyrighted our material? Like, there's no warning sign. It's just kind of
like this. It's like this.
Yeah.
It's the shrug emoji.
I don't mean to bring this topic up to intimidate other people. I just want everybody to know that that's a thing. Yeah. Because I want everybody to break through that weird barrier that's there.
It's unfortunate that when you're publishing your own adventures, you are essentially your own lawyer. You have to be your own lawyer. You have to be your own publicist. You have to be your own everything, essentially, unless you have the resources to hire people to check that for you. And especially for people starting out who don't have the money to hire an editor, who is usually the person who can check for like legality compliance. Like, yeah, it's a completely and totally unfair playing field, and it's something that people don't like talking about when publishing adventures, because no one likes talking about the legal stuff or the money stuff or anything like that. But it's something that should be talked about more, because it prevents so many people who don't have the luxury of having a lot of money to start out with, or having a lot of experience to dealing with this sort of things, or even just knowing, having connections in the industry who can help you. It prevents them from getting in, and that's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Going off of that, it just it hurts to see and just think about how many people don't have the opportunities that other people have, just simply because of class things, like not having money to pour into XYZ, or and it all just boils down to the whole gatekeeping thing of people, of the straight cis white men who do this, and they're in and everybody else is out. And in order to let someone like me into this industry, I'm a queer trans person of color, if someone like me wants to get in, I'm gonna have to, that meme, let me in.
My life.
Basically, I'm either gonna have to pour a crap ton of resources into learning how to do this myself, or I have to like hire somebody with money I don't have, or I have to know someone who is already in who can pull me in, but then I have to find someone who's willing to do that, or I just never get in. And there's like, I'm sure there's tons more people like me out there who are very intimidated by this, and so it's, but I see it in like every industry ever. Like a lot of it is just connections and being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people. And
I've seen so many like snippets of panels like this about publishing your own stuff, and it's all that. It's all just like, well, you've got to have friends, but it's cool because like I am Johnny White Guy, and like I know that guy and that guy and that guy, and it's like whatever, it's a cinch, it's fine. You just gotta know the right people, yo. And hopefully if people are struggling with that, they at least catch some of the chunks of this.
Well, I will say don't, one, if you're publishing to DM's Guild in particular, you might feel the instinct to be afraid to email Lissa. Don't. She's actually lovely, amazing, and will actually help you and take time out of her day to help you. Me, I have corporate anxiety. I'm like, there's no way she's gonna want to help me. But no, definitely not the case. I also am very willing to share the one-time experience and say like what I figured out. I don't promise that mine is completely accurate. I still refresh the page every day to make sure it's still there. I will tell you that. I don't really feel 1000% confident that I got it right on the third try.
Sort of bouncing off of that, something I do is if it's your first or one of your first things you're publishing on like DM's Guild or Drive Thru RPG that happens to be in the 5e wheelhouse, I'll edit it for free. Just straight up. Because someone edited my first adventure for free, and I wouldn't have gotten so many opportunities if that hadn't happened to me, and I'm determined to pay that forward to as many people as possible.
Oh, that's just
I do it for other systems, but I don't know them. Like I know like 5e is ingrained into my brain, as is the OGL at this point, so I will edit it for free and help with that. Just because it's like, I know it's real hard to pay an editor when you start out, so I'm like, no, I'll do it for free. I don't care. Like, I want you in this industry. I want more people in this industry, so I don't want to see the same faces over and over again. So yeah, fuck yeah, I'll edit for you.
That's
so nice.
That's great.
Now that we're all crying, okay.
Ren, did you have more questions?
Well, so actually, the question about publishing did touch on a question from Beepus, which was, what have been your experiences, getting published? So I will ask one more then in that case, because it is 9:30. This is from Samwise. Do you try to keep your settings system agnostic, or do you write with specific systems in mind? And I know that this answer could kind of change based on the current climate of things. So
interesting.
For my job, most of the time, because of the people I work with and like the things I'm hired for, I explicitly write for 5e and I design for 5e. When I do my own work, I try to keep things a little bit more like, I want to do more like setting agnostic system book or like setting books. I would love to do that at some point, but just because of how the nature of my job and the fact that I mostly get hired for 5e writing jobs, most of the stuff I do kind of falls in like it has to be 5e because it's like it's what I'm known for, it's what I'm hired for, which is, if I was doing things for fun, I'd love to do other systems, but doing it professionally, it's like, well, I get hired for D&D stuff. Gonna write with D&D in mind.
I wrote, so Neverland, obviously I think if I were writing an adventure, it'd probably be a little more system focused, but because Neverland is a setting guide, like the bulk of everything I wrote is lore. So it really doesn't necessarily, until you start getting to the stat block sections, there's not much mention of any mechanics for the first, half of the module, which is just lore. What are the regions? Who are the factions? Who are these? And that all that stuff can just be copy pasted to wherever you're comfortable. The end half, which is stat blocks and stuff, that of course is 5e specific, but it's kind of a mix.
For me, my fantasy setting was originally created actually for like I wanted to write a book or like a novel or at least just like prose, like scenes. So I had originally created the setting for one specific character and that story that revolved around said character. And then I started branching it out more as I sort of was wanting to develop the world that the character was living in so that I can maybe write this book that never happened. But then I went to college and then I started playing D&D, and then I didn't, when I wanted to, and I mentioned this earlier, but I didn't want to run D&D in like traditional WotC setting because I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't want to be like rules lawyered by my players who knew more about the lore, and I didn't want them to be like, according to page 232 here, that monster can't do that. So I didn't want that to happen to me.
Make your own monsters, that way no one can tell you no.
That's exactly what I was doing. I was like, I'm going to put this in my own setting, and then you all won't know anything, and I will know things.
And you can't tell me no, because I'm the god of this world.
Exactly. That's literally what happened. And then, obviously, with the D&D mechanics, that called for a lot of more world building, so I could fill in like the gaps that D&D sort of like the holes that the game sort of asked me to create stuff for. But then now as I'm moving away from D&D, the setting really isn't tied to anything because it's all just lore, really. And even the stuff that I created specifically for D&D, like I can just turn it into something else. Like you find me another system, like I'll fill in those holes and we'll just get going, because the core of what I created is just lore. It's just story. It's just narrative that I can build my campaign, threads, storylines, whatever off of. So, I mean, yeah. And then for Bloodstained Orphans in June, the end product for my game, what I'm hoping for is a system that can be setting agnostic, where you can take the themes of the game mechanics and put it in different genres. Because right now, the setting that I created is this, like I said, like near future kind of sci-fi, but like not super like laser guns and that kind of thing, like more on just like more advanced technology. I'll let like people get more creative with like what sort of tech exists and that sort of thing. And then like the guns can be like pretty cool. I don't know. Guns, I don't know anything about guns. I don't know why I'm writing crime stuff here. But
you need to know they go pew pew and that's it.
Yeah, you're making it up. You don't have to know anything about real guns.
They look like this. They're usually dark colored because it's edgy like that. Why are guns black? I don't know. Anyway, dark guns, and then the bigger they are, the bigger your dick.
Yeah.
That's it.
Metaphoric or otherwise.
Exactly. But anyways, so like I want the system to be able to be played in different genres. So like once we have more of the game mechanics, I have a fantasy version of this setting lined up where it's a underground sort of, not thieves guild, but like a criminal gang of sorts, but set in Arumbai. So that ties in my fantasy setting, but it's also like still a queer crime family, but it's fantasy. And then I also had the idea of going completely in the future to do a sci-fi, more kind of very much like more of a mystery sort of space station drama sort of thing. Like imagine a bunch of queer people stuck on a space station together. Like that's the game, like like there's mysteries, there's maybe someone dies, and like I want the game mechanics to be able to transfer to the different settings and whatnot. I rambled there, but yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Good. Yeah.
No, that was a real good ramble because it ended up with gay people in a space station, and I'm also here for that. Apparently neon and space station and robots is what's happening in the chat is what I want.
I'm not even looking at the chat because it keeps glitching for me.
Neon, space station, gay people, robots, combination of that. That's what I
dream.
would like.
Dream.
Right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I will say it is 9:30 and there are a bunch of questions that we didn't get to from the Discord, and I really appreciate that everyone sent us questions, but it is time for us to do the picture stuff and let everyone go eat dinner and stuff, or go to sleep, whatever people want to do with their lives.
Okay. I'm Mackenzie DeArmas, Mackenzie Lane D on Twitter. I'm an independent TTRPG content creator. So you can find me as lead writer for the Islands of Sina Una, which is a 5e setting based around pre-colonial Filipino mythology, which you can get on pre-order over on the Deck of Many's website. That'll be, I think, if I remember correctly, PDF is being released in September with a hardback in November, which I'm super excited about. I also do a bunch of cool stuff with MCDM and D&D Beyond, and I have some stuff over on DM's Guild, which is apparently won me an award, which is still weird to say. That's weird. It's like, I'm an award-winning game designer. I don't know about that one, but yeah, you can find me experiencing crises like that over on my Twitter, which you can follow right here. And that's about it. Thank you so much for having me, Ren. This was super fun.
I like that when you say it fast, it sounds like I'm an Emmy award-winning game designer.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's even worse.
And I'm like, whoa.
My
Damn.
brain just put together that Emmy is also a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what
are
they're
the
for.
Emmys? Is that TV? Is that the TV
Emmy
awards?
is TV.
Is
Emmy
it?
is
Okay.
TV.
Emmys are the TVs.
I have interesting stories about the Emmys because I got to do a gifting suite for that. I went to a gifting suite, and that's where I got the big duffel bag of mystery, which I've made a Twitter thread about. Because
I'm
everyone was
gonna
like,
look that up.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
found you. You just reminded me.
Yeah,
That's how I found you on
I
Twitter.
was the one who was like, yeah, I went to one of those celebrity gifting suites. Oh yeah, people have way too much money to throw away. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god, that's how I found you. Holy crap.
We need to make that an item, the duffel bag of mystery.
It's horrifying. I have so many stories about that duffel bag.
But we'll Jay.
Me? Oh, a great segue. If you're mad about celebrities having way too much money, then once my game comes out, you can play Bloodstained Orchids in June, which is a queer mafia game set in the near future where you play as a queer criminal and you explore themes of like found family and relationships and betrayal and secrecy. Themed around writing scenes. It's going to be play by post. You write scenes and you explore different aspects of your character's life, and you are gay and you do crime. Other stuff that I do, you can check the links in the chat, but I also am open for commissions. Speaking of Twitter, you can follow me at NalaWoo and at NalaDraws everywhere else. Instagram, ArtStation, my professional portfolio. If you want to hire me for freelance work for your game, I can draw stuff for you. And so you can see my portfolio at ArtStation. The link is in the thing. What else do? I do sensitivity reading and cultural consulting. You can check my pinned thread on my Twitter for the information on what topics I comfortably can speak about and can educate you about.
Yeah, and Diana, our returning friend. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
I know. I'm really happy to be back. This was fun again. So Neverland, the Impossible Island, the Neverland 5e setting, is up on DriveThru RPG right now. It's on super sale because I put it on sale because I felt like it, and then DriveThru RPG they put it on sale also, so it's like $2 right now. So go and get a copy. I am working on transcribing it with a little insert so that you can play it in a D10 setting. That will be out within just a couple of weeks. It's pretty much almost done, and will be just a free add-on to anybody who's already purchased it. It's just a little something I'm throwing in as an option. anything else that I do, which is mostly just make funny videos sometimes and podcasting here and there and doing other things, can be found on superdylan.com. In the pre-COVID-19 world, I was a game event organizer in New York City. So we ran Queer D&D NYC. I ran the gaming portion of the COGS Expo. All of those things are on hiatus right now, but you can still keep an eye out for them for whenever that comes in the future, if you happen to be a East Coaster in the region.
Massachusetts.
Same.
California.
Who else lives out here?
M, who
M?
sadly
Oh yeah.
technology did not work out for them.
You'll have to come
I
back.
really
We've
appreciate
got a
that
bunch
they
of
were
unanswered questions. We
willing
can always
to
do try. We can always do
That's
take
true.
two. We can
two.
always do
I'll
take
gladly
two.
come back for another one. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I'll shout out M. M has an itch.io. Is that how you say that? Itch.io? Itch.io? I don't know. M has an itch.io. You should check it out. There's a bunch of themed little short games. Also, M contributed to the Unbridled collection, which is on DM's Guild. I'm really sorry that we didn't get a chance to show them to you because I really love them.
They seem
So.
really cool.
But that is Tales of Make Believe Season 2 Episode 2. Reminder about the Discord. We have a Discord. You can do !Discord or click on the links below. Make Believe started as a Discord almost 2 years ago at this point, with Dan, Nick Z, and I wanting a place to build up marginalized people in the LARP community, but we have spread to TTRPGs, so if you go there, we're talking about all kinds of nerd stuff, and it's just a really good bunch of beans. Tiny little bit of credits. Song credits. They're all from Kevin MacLeod. You can see exactly which particular tracks were used down below. All of the overlay stuff that you are seeing was done by Just a Summer Job on Twitter. She's excellent, fast.
I love Summer.
Amazing.
She's helping me on my gay crime game.
Yeah, she's great. The transition video with all the sparkles that she did she's great.
That's awesome.
Just be nice to everyone if you can, and remember, you're never too old for make believe.
I'm queer for it.
What?